This video is sponsored by Surfshark. More on them later. You may have noticed how this Euros has already featured a particular amount of long-range goals, something I think all fans are grateful for. But this isn't the only interesting element that is emerging from the tournament, and to understand what might be happening, we need to take a look at the biggest tactical trends of the Euros. The Euros are well underway, and we've got a good glimpse at what every nation has to offer, and there are some major patterns emerging both in and out of possession. The first tactical trend to pick up on is the increased popularity of building with a back three. This is something that has been extremely popular at club level for a number of years, but the sheer amount of nations doing it at the Euros has caught me by surprise. There have been, largely speaking, two categories of teams at the Euros. The more favoured nations starting in either a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, and the more challenger nations starting in a 3-4-3 or 3-5-2 formation. But regardless of the starting formation, the vast majority of nations are switching to a back three when in possession. For example, Germany start their games in a 4-2-3-1. However, as soon as they want to build their attacks, Toni Kroos drops on the side of the centre-backs to form a back three build structure. This allows their fullbacks to gain a lot of width on the flanks, giving Germany a lot of options for attacking forward, and is one of the reasons why they're very quickly becoming a lot of people's favourites for the Euros, as this build structure makes it very difficult for the opposition to press. Portugal, on the other hand, have their midfielder Palhinha often dropping between the centre-backs and looking to deliver longer passes into the wingers from a more protected position. While other nations like England and Italy, whilst not having the most glamorous start to the Euros, form their back three by having their right fullback move inside, with the left back pushing much further up on the flank. The major difference that is emerging between teams that are building with a back three is how many players they choose to use as pivots in the centre, with a lot of teams relying on two players. But other nations, again such as Germany and Portugal, often only consistently keeping one player in this position, and preferring to push more players between the lines. But why is building with a back three such a common structure at the Euros? I personally believe it's down to how the majority of teams are looking to defend, with the most common defensive structures at the Euros being either the 5-3-2 or 4-4-2 formation, both of which have two strikers up top. By switching to a back three, you instantly force the opposition to make a choice. Do you drag a midfielder off his line to even out the first line and leave more space in behind? Or do you accept the numerical disadvantage and try and force the opposition into tight areas out wide by not allowing a ball to go through the middle? By switching to a back three, it gives you the possibility to free up one extra player to move into midfield and makes it easier to break the first line. It's also how teams against England have been able to control the ball. Once England score and refuse to play anymore, by keeping a wide back three, it meant both Denmark and Serbia could bypass the initial press and would drag the midfield line out of position to free up space in the centre. Now, the Euros provide us with an excellent opportunity to understand all the latest tactical trends, but it's not always possible to watch all the matches, which is why I've been using Surfshark VPN. I live in Italy, so I've been using Surfshark to help me keep up to date with all the latest talking points around England by switching my IP to Great Britain and watching all the content that I normally wouldn't have access to. Surfshark allows you to change your virtual location to watch any geo-restricted content. So if you're on holiday but you still want to watch the matches with your favourite commentary, Surfshark is the solution. Surfshark VPN keeps your online identity safe by encrypting all information sent between your device and the internet. With over 3,200 servers in 100 countries, you can unblock sports streams and even stream libraries such as Netflix to watch content not available in your country. Not only does Surfshark help you stay safe online, but it also makes navigating the web a much more enjoyable experience with the Clean Web feature that blocks all annoying ads, pop-ups, trackers, or malware. Finally, what makes Surfshark so special is that it can be used on unlimited devices, helping you stay protected on your computer, phone, tablet, or anything you use to connect to the internet. So if you want to stay safe online and get access to all content around the globe, then Surfshark is the solution. And you can get an extra 4 months free by entering coupon code META. Click the link in the description down below to get started. Thank you to Surfshark. So at these Euros, the team that has impressed me the most on how they've dealt with a back three build structure is Spain, who are yet to concede a goal in this competition. Spain do this by maintaining their 4-3-3 structure even when out of possession, ensuring the opposition's first line of three isn't given time on the ball to make the right choice. As the opposition tries to push up, this can quickly revert into a 4-5-1 or 4-4-2 structure and block off any options in the centre. But by making this switch later on in the defensive phase, it's not as easy for the opposition to push their players forward, meaning they often end up with one less player involved in their attacking shape, and it's meant Spain have had one of the most aggressive defensive shapes so far this Euros. Quick note about Spain, and they're actually one of the few teams that are not using 3 players to build. Rather, their deep line of 4 has caused a number of issues for the opposition. So while Spain's heavy possession style may feel relatively familiar, it's actually a lot more unique compared to other nations. But there's another common thing that Spain are doing that is turning out to be a favourite amongst other nations at the Euros, and that is big overloads in possession. This season in club football has given us a glimpse into where the game might be heading in the near future, with a new wave of managers blurring the lines between strict structure and a more free-flowing adaptive positioning. It's an idea also known as relationism, and while it's not as intense as South American managers such as Fernando Diniz, this slightly watered down version is proving to be very effective in Europe. A prime example is Ancelotti at Real Madrid, who rarely has a specific tactic that the team can rely on, but is more concerned on the individual connections between the players. Granted, Ancelotti has nearly always done this, but now we have a fancy new name for it. And one very common pattern of relationism is these big overloads in possession to create more connections between the players. So while teams at the Euros are starting their attacks in relatively strict ways, as they move into the opposition's half, the players are rotating much more frequently, and teams are creating overloads in a number of different ways. Spain, for example, used both their box-to-box midfielders to give support to the winger on the ball. Germany have 4 dynamic offensive players that constantly rotate and drop deep to look for central progression. Turkey are looking to add numbers around the ball with their holding midfielder pushing much further up the pitch when in possession. Switzerland have their left wing back moving into very central positions when they're attacking on the right flank. What this overload is attempting to do is to try and free up a player on the side of the pitch that can be played in behind, or with space to receive on the edge of the box and take a shot, or in other situations force the defending team to commit a lot of players to this side of the pitch, subsequently freeing up space for a switch in play. And here is where I think this noticeable increase in long-range efforts comes into the picture. This season in the Premier League was a record low for attempts from outside the box at only 32.8%. But at this Euros, the amount of shots from outside the box is averaging at around 40%. With 13 goals already being scored from outside the box, and a lot of incredible saves. There have been a number of different attempts at trying to explain why this might be the case, from the new Adidas ball being a favourite for strikers, or even psychological reasons such as the thrill of representing your nation and wanting to be the star of the match. But from a tactical level, it could potentially highlight this divide that is emerging in football. Over the past few years, club football was becoming increasingly well drilled at any level, with specific patterns and rotations the players needed to follow for the manager's vision to work. And there were clear instructions on where the players need to take their chances from. Managers like Guardiola have had a massive influence in how football was seen over the past decade, and his philosophy of always working the ball into deep areas before finding a player in the centre was arguably seen as the most effective way of scoring. But this new wave of relationism could be making its way into international level. Now, this is pure speculation, but it makes sense when you consider the types of players and teams that are creating these chances. Spain, for example, are all very much positional players if you consider the clubs in which they play, and their goals have come from relatively structured and traditional positions. Teams like Germany, on the other hand, have a mixture of different playstyles, with some players coming from positional teams, while other players such as Wirtz and Kroos combining these two visions into one dangerous and unpredictable system. A second reason why there could be so many goals from outside the box could be down to the defensive structure used at the Euros, with a lot of teams opting for back five formations, meaning there is naturally less cover in the centre. And with every goal being extremely crucial, defensive lines have been playing a lot deeper in this Euros, preferring to cover the space in the box and push up from any rebounds, rather than playing with a slightly more aggressive defensive line, meaning attacking teams are ending up with a lot more space in front of the defence. Denmark's equaliser against England came with the English defence all in their own box, while even the Netherlands against France had a number of opportunities from the edge of the box as France looked to cover the centre. But I'm curious to know what trends and patterns have you noticed from this Euros. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. And thanks again to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Make sure to click the link in the description down below to get the most out of the Euros wherever you may be.